What is the spiritual meaning of a beggar in a dream? Listen, the answer is not what you think. It all starts with an empire built on a secret. Okay, so before Oprah Winfrey's name was synonymous with empire, she was just a little girl in Mississippi. And I mean, before she became this global icon, she knew the face of want intimately. She knew exactly what it felt like to be invisible. Yeah, the kids at school, they laughed at her because she wore dresses made out of potato sacks. They didn't have a washing machine, just this old cast iron pot her grandmother used to boil their clothes clean. And look, this isn't just some sad backstory. This is the whole point.
So what does she do? She goes and builds this billion-dollar fortress around herself. But here's the brutal truth. That broke, hungry, discarded little girl, she was still inside. For decades, that inner beggar was just screaming from the basement of her mind.
And you see all this stuff, right? Her battles with her weight, always seeking approval, getting into abusive relationships. People saw those as weaknesses, but they weren't. No way. All of it. That was the beggar inside refusing to be ignored. It was her soul literally demanding that she go back and reclaim that part of herself she'd left behind. And this is why it matters for you. Because that beggar who shows up at your door, in your dream, she isn't just some random phantom. She is not a stranger. She is you. Let that sink in. She is the part of you that you cast out, the part you starved, the part you silenced or shamed, the part of you that society screamed out to sit down, be small, want less, and for God's sake, need nothing. And now, she's come to collect. Now look, this isn't just some poetic idea. Psychology actually has a name for this figure. In fact, it's got a couple of them. Let's break this down. So you've got two big thinkers with two names for the same truth. Carl Jung, he called it the shadow, that dark, suppressed reservoir of everything you refuse to admit about yourself. Then there's Joseph Campbell. He called it the threshold guardian. That's the test that stands between the life you have right now and the life you are capable of living. You need to understand this. The beggar is the guardian. She is the test. So please, forget about money. This has nothing to do with coins. The beggar in your dream isn't asking for change. She is demanding your attention. She is every single ambition you called foolish, every grief you buried deep down, every need you dismissed because you thought you were being too much. And that, right there, brings us to you, to your dream. When you wake up, your answers to a few key questions are going to determine the entire trajectory of your life. I'm not exaggerating. First question, was the beggar terrifying or was she heartbreaking? Think about it. Your gut reaction reveals everything. Is your first instinct to pull back in fear, or do you feel your heart open up with compassion? Next, did you give her something, or did you look away, turn your back? What you do in the dream, well, it's a mirror for what you do in your real life when you're confronted with your own neglected needs. And her face. Did you recognize it? Even for just a split second, did you see a flicker of your younger self, your forgotten self, staring right back at you? What about this? Were you afraid she would touch you? Afraid that her poverty, her desperation, that it was somehow contagious? You see, that fear of being touched is really a fear of accepting that her need is also your need. And finally, the biggest question of them all. Did the dream shift? At any point, were you the one with your hand out? In the end, were you the beggar? The stakes here, they're everything. Answering these questions honestly is everything, because this figure, this part of you, she is not going to be ignored forever. Carl Jung was absolutely ruthless about this point. He said, what you refuse to face in the daylight, it will hunt you in the dark, every single night, without mercy, and it will not stop until you finally turn around and listen. And make no mistake about it, this is for every single woman listening right now. Every one of us has a part of ourselves that we've let become impoverished, whether that's creatively, spiritually, or professionally. Every one of us has a beggar waiting right there at the gate. Look, she will wait in the cold of your unconscious forever. She's not going anywhere. The real question isn't if she'll ever give up. The question is, how much longer can you afford to make her wait?
Part 2. All right, let's just dive right in. Okay, let's get one thing straight right off the bat. You think you dreamed about a beggar? You didn't. Your psyche, it just doesn't do generic. See, Your unconscious mind, it works with surgical precision. Every single detail, that torn coat, the specific look in their eye, it's a loaded message, a message for you. So, let's decode it.
So first up, we've got the most fundamental choice these dreams throw at you, the transaction. Do you give or do you refuse? And listen, this has nothing to do with charity. This is about your own soul.
When you give to the beggar, you're literally feeding a neglected part of yourself. It's an act of integration. But walking past, that's you slamming the door shut on your own growth. And let me tell you, the part of you that you reject, it doesn't just vanish. No way. It gets louder, angrier, and a whole lot uglier.
Okay, so here's the deal. What you do next is everything. If you gave in the dream, I want you to find a real emotional need you've been starving. Maybe it's rest or creative time or just space to grieve, and you need to fund it this week. No excuses. Now, if you refused, your work is harder. You need to name that one thing you've been actively avoiding for the last 6 months. You know what it is: the conversation, the decision, the ending. You have 30 days to take one single concrete action. The clock is ticking.
All right, now things can escalate. The dream can go way beyond a simple transaction and straight into a question of identity. Is the beggar you, or is it some outside force? The stakes just got a hell of a lot higher.
If you are the beggar in the dream, your psyche is screaming at you. It's saying, look, this is you. This is how empty you really are. You're out there performing competence, acting like you have it all together while you're starving inside. But if the beggar grabs you, oh, that means you've ignored all the warnings. This isn't a suggestion anymore. This is integration by force. This is your psyche pulling the fire alarm, and it shows up as panic attacks, chronic illness, life-altering catastrophes.
So the action here has to be immediate. If you're the beggar, you need to audit your 5 closest relationships. Right now, where are you the constant giver? Where are you being drained dry? You renegotiate that relationship or you exit. Now. And if she grabbed you, you find that chronic physical symptom, the insomnia, the migraines, whatever it is, and you book a somatic therapist. Your body isn't broken. It's trying to talk to you. Are you listening?
Okay, now we're going to move into the realm of archetypes, because sometimes the beggar isn't just some disowned part of you. Sometimes she's a timeless, powerful figure in disguise. So if the beggar in your dream is an old woman, do not make the mistake of seeing her as pitiable. This isn't some poor old lady. This is the crone. This is your own ancient wisdom, the part of you that has seen it all and survived everything. She shows up looking impoverished to test you. The question is, can you see value where society sees none? Can you honor wisdom that isn't loud, flashy, or young? This is a really profound test of your own discernment.
And if the beggar is a child. Wow. This is the one that just stops you in your tracks, isn't it? This is your wounded inner child. This is the part of you that was abandoned or hurt a long, long time ago, and she has been waiting for you to come back and get her. And hear me on this. You cannot access your full power while you're leaving her out in the cold.
So these dreams, they demand deep work. For the crone, you need to connect with your own inner elder. Or maybe there's an older woman in your life you respect. Call her. For the child, though, this is absolutely non-negotiable. I want you to find a photo of yourself as a little girl. Look right into her eyes and write her a letter. Tell her everything she needed to hear back then. This isn't some soft, feel-good exercise. This is psychic surgery.
Okay, let's pivot. Let's talk about your reaction inside the dream, because how you feel about the beggar, that's often the most direct clue you're ever going to get.
Think about it. If you feel disgusted by her, that disgust, it's a spotlight. And it's pointing directly at a quality in yourself that you absolutely refuse to own. Her weakness, that's your terror of your own vulnerability. Her mess, that's your fear of your own inner chaos. And her neediness, oh, that's your own disowned, ravenous hunger.
So what's the move? Well, if she transforms into something beautiful in the dream, your job is to take something you've labeled a flaw in yourself and reframe it as a superpower. You're not too sensitive, you're highly empathetic. You have to claim it. But if you felt disgust, the work is different. You have to sit down and write, completely uncensored, what disgusts you about yourself. You have to be willing to look at it.
And finally, we get to the most urgent messages of all. This is when the psyche drops all the symbolism and just speaks to you directly.
If the beggar opens her mouth and speaks to you, listen up. This is a code red event. Your unconscious has dropped all pretense, all subtlety.
Whatever she said, no matter how strange or nonsensical it seems, is a direct piece of guidance. You need to write it down, every single word. It's a transmission meant only for you.
And what if you keep dreaming of a beggar over and over? The alarm is ringing and you're just hitting snooze. Your psyche is screaming for your attention. You know, it's like Joseph Campbell said, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. Well, that recurring dream, that is the entrance to the cave.
And this really is the ultimate point, isn't it? Carl Jung absolutely nailed it when he said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. That recurring dream, it's not fate. It's your unfinished business, and it's creating the same destructive patterns in your life over and over again, just waiting for you to finally turn around and face it.
Okay, one last and really crucial variation. What happens when the beggar isn't a stranger? What if she wears the face of someone you actually know? This, my friends, is called projection. That person's face, whether it's your mother, your ex, your boss, it's just a screen, a movie screen. And you are projecting a quality that lives inside you, but that you absolutely cannot or will not see in yourself. So, how do you break the spell? It's simple, but it's not easy. Step 1. Name the main quality you associate with that person. What's the first word that comes to mind? Helplessness, entitlement, rage? Got it? Okay, step 2. Now apply that exact word to yourself with ruthless honesty. Where are you helpless? Where are you entitled? Integrating this is tough for sure, but I'm telling you, it can dissolve a lifelong pattern in an instant. So, after all this, the real question isn't just, what did my dream mean? No, the question is, who was it really? Who was standing on that street corner in your dream last night? And now that you're awake, what the hell are you gonna do about it?
Part 3. Okay, so the dream showed up, it told you something, and maybe you're sitting there thinking, phew, that's it, the hard part's over. But it's not. Not even close. See, understanding, that's just the starting line. It's not enough. So let's just stop avoiding. It's time to act. Really act. As I walk you through these different paths, I want you to pay attention. Pick the one that makes your breath catch in your throat. Just for a second. That's the one. That one, that's yours. All right, first up, portraits of starvation. And I need you to be brutally honest with yourself here. See if one of these feels a little too familiar. Okay, first, the woman who lives in her head. Does this sound like you? You are brilliant at analysis. You read, you research, you construct these incredible mental models of everything. And look, it's a powerful gift, but it's also a fortress. It's a way to keep a safe intellectual distance from the messy business of actually feeling. Well, we're done with that now. Listen, this isn't about writing some beautiful, perfect journal entry. Forget that. This is an excavation. You're digging. That beggar in your dream, she lives right in that gap between what your brilliant mind knows and what your heart is actually allowed to feel. And this exercise, this is how you start building a bridge across that gap. So don't you dare put this off. And this isn't just some dramatic language. This is urgent, because that gap, it doesn't just stay a nice, manageable little gap. It widens. It becomes a chasm. And that chasm turns into depression. That's the real danger here. And that's why you have to act now. All right, next up, the woman who is always doing for others. You're the fixer, right? The caretaker, the one whose phone is always ringing. You haven't said the words "I need" out loud in so long you've probably forgotten they even form a complete sentence. For you, the beggar isn't some deep symbol. She's a bank statement. She's showing you your own internal resource account, and the balance is 0. And I need to be crystal clear here. This is not about a spa day. This isn't about pampering yourself. We're talking about basic, fundamental human essentials. Sleep, solitude, a meal you didn't have to cook for 3 other people, nourishment. You have to hold yourself accountable for this because no one else is going to do it for you. Because here's the ugly truth. Caretakers who never receive don't just gracefully burn out. They collapse suddenly. They get sick. They end up with a full calendar and a completely empty soul. You are not a martyr. Let me say that again. You are not a martyr. You are a human being and you are allowed to have needs. So for God's sake, act on them. Okay, what about this one? The woman who has outrun her pain. You are busy. You are so successful. You are always moving forward. You don't do feelings, you do results. And that beggar, that needy, pathetic beggar in your dream, she makes you absolutely furious, doesn't she? Of course she does. Because she is a living, breathing mirror of everything you have fought so hard to run from, everything you've refused to be. And here's the thing. Your mind might be able to outrun the pain, but your body can't. Your body keeps the score. It has been storing every single thing your mind has rejected. You know that chronic tension in your shoulders? Yeah, that's not just stress. That's archived grief. Those knots in your gut, that's the rage you told yourself was too inconvenient to feel. Your body is screaming what your mind has censored. It's time to let it speak.
And this is why this is so damn urgent. Because high-functioning women, you look fine. From the outside, you are fine. You're more than fine. You're killing it. Right up until the moment you suddenly, spectacularly, are not. Do not become that statistic.
Okay, let's shift gears. The next set of portraits, these are about avoidance. A different kind of running, but running all the same.
Are you in a major life transition? You know that feeling? You're between chapters. A job, a relationship, a whole identity. It's over. And you're just standing there in the hallway with no idea what's next. That beggar in your dream, she's not just a beggar. She's the threshold guardian. She's standing right at the gate you are terrified to walk through. And look, don't dismiss this as some sentimental woo-woo exercise. This is a structural process. A ritual like this, it sends a direct, powerful signal to your nervous system. It tells it, that story is over. This new chapter is real. You have to consciously, deliberately walk across that threshold.
Because this is what's at stake. Women who don't properly grieve what ends, they drag the corpse of their old identity right into their new life. And then they wonder why everything feels so heavy, so dead. It's because you're dragging a corpse around. Don't be that woman. Bury it and begin. Now, let's talk about the woman drowning in financial anxiety, because sometimes the dream isn't some deep metaphor. It's literal. It's about money. That cold pit of your stomach terror of not having enough. And that fear, it's almost always jacked up by an old, deep-seated belief system of scarcity. It's like malware running in the background of your mind, corrupting everything. And here's a hard truth. More money will not fix a scarcity shadow. It won't. Only integration will. That means you have to go deeper. You have to deal with the psychological root of the fear itself, not just try to rearrange the numbers on a spreadsheet.
Or maybe it's not about money at all. Maybe the beggar is a different kind of hunger entirely. The woman who has been spiritually disconnected. You used to believe in something bigger, right? God, the universe, just a sense of meaning. And somewhere along the way, you lost it. Or you let it go. That beggar, that's the spiritual starvation you've been pretending isn't there. Okay? Everything we've covered so far, that is real, legitimate, powerful work. But what if the dream keeps coming back? What if the beggar is getting louder? Sometimes, that's a sign that your unconscious is trying to hand you something big, something enormous. And for that, you need the professional path. And this is about recognizing the scale of the work. Look, journaling, yoga, self-help books, they are powerful beginnings. They are. But you don't fight a hurricane with a water bucket. When something this big is surfacing, you don't try to manage it alone in your living room. You find a professional, a Jungian analyst, a depth therapist, someone who is trained to hold the space for the full weight of what is trying to be born. And doing this is maybe the most radical act of self-respect you can possibly take. It's saying out loud, my inner life is worth professional attention. This is how real transformation happens. This is how women become those forces of nature you admire, the ones who just seem to carry themselves with an unshakable core. So, we've gone through all the paths, and now it all comes down to a final choice. Your choice. Because, make no mistake, the beggar is waiting. The beggar at the gate of your dream is not your enemy. She is not there to judge you. She is not a sign that you have failed. She is the part of you that refused to die, no matter how long you abandoned her. She is your resilience. She is your life force. She's the part that waited and waited and waited for you to finally come home. So the only question left is, will you open the gate?